So I've got to be honest, I wasn't planning on recording another one of these today. 3 episodes in 3 days is, for me, that's pretty much high intensity exercise. So yeah, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'll be absolutely honest with you. I spent most of yesterday thinking, I've just recorded an episode where I've talked about flip-flopping like he's a person. And I thought, and just to go even deeper into the well of honesty, I genuinely thought, if I die this weekend and somebody goes, oh, that's a shame he's died, let's just have a look on his Facebook wall and relive some of the memories. The first thing they're going to see is me faffing around in a 5-minute video talking about flip-flopping. So, can't let that be my legacy. Can't let that be my legacy. If I were to go this weekend, I've got to create something a bit more substantial than that. So this is it. Although, I am now just very self-conscious that, you know, I've used the word legacy about 3 times now, and now the pressure's really up there. I just want to shoot a video that I can go off this weekend and paraglide near power cables, and I can eat that, you know, suspiciously old chicken Kiev in my fridge. You know, safe in the knowledge that should I cark it, I don't like a dickhead on Facebook. Although this has probably just created that. So that's why the 3 episodes in 3 days. So this is episode number 23 of I Can Change the Title Later, right? And today I wanted to give you something useful. No Dutch pianist today. No flip-flopping or anything like that. I'm going to give you a tip that can actually help you make money. That's a good way to go out. That's just in case the paragliding doesn't work for me. So I'm going to give you a tip about creating a sales page, because I've been helping a few people out recently on copy consults, which you can book me for. Did you know you can book me for that? No? You know why? Because I'm terrible at marketing my own stuff. Terrible. You can, but it's only available to email subscribers. There should be a link somewhere to join that list. So I was helping people with copy consults, and here's a problem I see a lot. When you've got a sales page, it's like you rush. A lot of people really rush to get to the sale. Like, every word has got to sell, 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 sell. And so they have the headline, they have the sub-headline, they have these nice images, and just go bam, straight into it. And it's like, bam, straight into it. And it's like, I don't know, it just causes this kind of disconnect that makes you feel like you've been punched, a lot of sales pages, because there's no kind of warming up or preamble or anything like that. You've got to think of how a salesman would work in real life, right? There's no, even the slickest salesman, the best salesman in the world would never knock on your granny's door, and as soon as she opens it, it goes, Hoover, buy Hoover, you know. It just wouldn't happen. There's a preamble, there's an opening before they get to the Hoover. That's my entire sales pitch for a Hoover. So there's this preamble, and a lot of people miss this. And it's this idea of transitions. Transitions are really hard in copy. I get it, because it's something you're not used to doing. But the weird thing is, you are actually used to doing it, because you do this in real life. When you're talking to your friends and you've got some bad news to break to them, you don't start out with the bad thing. And this is what I think is a good tip to bear in mind for business owners when you're creating a sales page. I know you kind of want to get into the features, the benefits, the awesomeness that this will bring to their life and everything like that. But you just need to remember that, think of it in terms of, it's not a sales page, it's a sales letter. So think about the old school marketing guys who used to mail these out via post. That's the kind of feel you want. It's going to one person. When you're on the internet, the temptation is that everybody's going to see this, or, you know, when you're running a Facebook ad to it, that women between 18 and 40 who are Christian, they're single, and they hula hoop in the evening, these are the people that's going to get there. It's easy to get out of that mode of thinking that this is for one person, because that's what you need to do. You need to remember that this is a letter. One person's going to read it at a time, and you need to talk to that reader. And you need to talk to them like you would do if you were in a room selling your stuff to them. You wouldn't just go straight in for the pitch. So this idea of remembering it's a letter rather than a page will really help you. Because if you have bad news to break to somebody in a letter, you don't just do that Hoover approach. So if you're writing back from university and you say, "Dear Mum, I failed my exams, I'm up the duff, I'm addicted to heroin, can I have £1,000? Yvonne," you don't just write letters like that, right? You need you need a bit of preamble before you get to the I'm addicted to heroin, can I have a grand part? That's a classic old school copywriting technique. You need the preamble before you get to the addicted to heroin and the grand part. God knows what kind of preamble you'd need to get to the I failed my exams, I'm up the duff, addicted to heroin, and I need a grand pitch. But we'll maybe try and figure that one out as we go. So here's the thing. Like templates for headlines and stuff like that, there's a bit of an easy way of doing this. And so after you've had the headline, after you've had the subheadline, let's use this template of kind of transitioning into the sales letter. So it's a very simple one. It's just called the if-then. Now, you don't just use the words if-then. You've got to fill in some blanks. But the good thing is there's a lot of freedom with this. So if you're a middle-aged dad who's tried every workout but still struggling to shift the pounds, then you're going to want to read this letter because I'm about to show you exactly how I did it. Just transitions into it. So you can imagine like the headline, whatever that would be for the workout program, and then transitioning into that, and then you go, dear dads. It was just, and then you just go into the sales letter. It's just this simple transition. Now, the if-then is just one of these kind of transitions, but it's an important part to get right. And it's this idea that you don't have to sell. It's this, like I said, people getting the idea of thinking that every word has to sell, but every word has a job. And Joe Sugarman, who talked about the idea of a sales page, a sales letter, should be like a slippery slope. Once they get on it, it's an easy ride all to the bottom. It's harder to get off the ride than it is to stay on it and enjoy the ride and go whee, and whatever other manly things you do on a slide. So using this slippery slope or this slide analogy, this kind of if-then thing is just them getting up, getting them into the right position on the slide, ready to launch. So they know they're in the right place, and it's just the initial push. It's like the bobsled team that just razz it down the slope and then jump in. That's what this is. And it's if you're interested in learning about how I can come up with random celebrities at the drop of a hat, then stick around because I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. Dear friend, Buttress Scully and Dawn French and I were playing cricket one day, that kind of thing. So that's the thing I want you to think about. If you're struggling with your sales page, if you read your sales page and it sounds like a bit of a car crash when it feels like you're getting whiplash when you're reading, going from the subheadline and the headline into the copy, if it doesn't feel as smooth as you want, if it doesn't feel like that slippery slope, use the if and then thing. If blah 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 blank, then blah 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 blank. And it's a really simple thing. It doesn't have to do any selling. It just has to set them up to let them know they're in the right place. And the great thing is, this isn't about the specific combination of words. This is a feel thing. And you can, when you say these things out loud, if you've tried every diet imaginable and are really struggling to shift the pounds, then read this letter all the way to the end because I'm about to show you how I did it in 6 months. It's a feel thing. It just sets them up. It's the preamble. It's like the letter to the university student writing to the mum. How would you use, let's try this then. How would you use the if and then thing for that university? Dear mum, I failed my exams, I'm addicted to heroin, I'm up the duff, can I have a grand? So how would that apply there? I think you need about 85 of these if-thens just to soften that blow. But, dear mum, if you've ever wondered what it's like to be a character in EastEnders, then you're going to want to read this all the way to the end because you're about to go through one hell of an emotional roller coaster. That would be the kind of thing. Then you'd go into I failed my exams, I'm up the duff, I'm addicted to heroin and can have a grand. Now I just want a grand and to be up the duff. No heroin though. It's very Moorish, I've heard. So that's the thing I want you to do. If you're struggling with your sales page, remember, don't be too eager to bust in for the sell. Now, I've deliberately avoided a lot of very crude analogies here. There are some there, but you're better than that. I'm not. I'm a lot worse than that. But when it comes to analogies about getting in there too early and stuff like that, there are a lot of crudeness around, but I've done well to avoid that. So when you're creating this sales page, think of it as a sales letter. You're writing to one person. How would you do this? You wouldn't just bust in there with a sales pitch. You'd have the preamble. You'd set them up. And this if and then thing is just one of the ways of doing that. If you're blah, 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 then you're going to want to read this all the way to the end. Dear friend. And then you get into your letter. It's just a nice, easy transition. But transitions like these are... I'm veering to use the word lubricant, and I'm aware of that crudeness again. But it is like the slide thing. It's just transitions like these make the slide go faster, and are just little moments. If you get them wrong, it's like a fat kid on the slide. It will stop, and then they'll get off. You don't want that to happen. You want them to enjoy the ride all the way to the end. So get your transitions right, and this is the most important one to get right, the one that sets them up for the entirety of the letter. You've got a great headline, you've got a sub-headline, you've got a nice image, you've got all that, you've done the hard work. Now you just need to set them up, and an if and then thing can do that job perfectly. So have a go with that, and if you've got a sales letter that you're working on at the moment, feel free to message me or put it in the comments or ask for ideas. Don't ask me to write it for you. And I'm happy to help, because I realise this is a weird thing. Whenever you put anything under the label of copywriting, it becomes formal, it becomes a thing, and you're not just talking about your business. But just imagine how you would introduce this to somebody. If somebody says, what would that do for me? You say, well, if you're the kind of person who's always struggled to blah, then you know, blah, 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 you know. But just don't use the word blah, 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 because it will make people think you've had a stroke. So, hope that's useful. It's certainly achieved my goal of being slightly more helpful than the flip-flopping episode. But if you've got any questions, fire them below or above, depending on where you're seeing this, and I'll be happy to help you. Have a good weekend. I'm off to paraglide and eat suspiciously old chicken.